Jaguars, Colts, game day morning. Welcome into Duval Daily presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan DeLugo. Thank you so much for tuning in. Happy game day, Duval. Jaguars hosting the Colts. Week 2 divisional matchup between two winless teams in the AFC South. Colts coming off a tie against the Texans in which they stormed back from a 20-3 deficit, while the Jaguars are coming off a fourth quarter collapse in the nation's capital. Had an 8-point lead with less than 10 minutes left and could not get the job done against the Commanders. We're going to take you through some of the top storylines and things to watch heading in to this Week 2 matchup. Hit me up on Twitter at Jordan DeLugo. Follow Generation Jaguar at Generation Jag. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. If you enjoy the content, if you want to support the channel further, you can go pick up a new hat or shirt on GenJag.com. You can become a member of this channel. There's some cool perks you can check out. Links in the description below. The big thing we want to talk about to start this right now. Rain and storms on the forecast in Jacksonville. It's not looking great, guys. It is not looking great. The forecast looks like there's a good chance of rain and a good chance of thunder and lightning throughout the game this afternoon. Of course, things can change on a dime in Florida. We will monitor that throughout the rest of the morning leading up to kickoff at 1 p.m. TIAA Bank Field. If there are rains and storms, how does that impact this game? You've got some really good running backs, right? Jonathan Taylor, perhaps the best running back in the league. You've got James Robinson, who's been one of the most consistent and efficient runners during his time in the NFL for the Jaguars. You've also got Travis Etienne, Nyheim Hines, a lot of talent in those backfields. Do these teams have to lean on running the football? If they do, ball security is going to be huge. When you talk about these runners, if they're carrying the ball 15, 20 plus times, are they able to hold on to it? That's going to be something to monitor. And then turnovers, of course. If it's a wet, sloppy conditions, turnovers could abound, right? The football is hard to hold on to, hard to throw. Can turnovers be a big factor in this one? They were a big factor for the Jaguars last week. They forced 3 turnovers defensively. Matt Ryan put the ball in harm's way several times last week, having 4 turnover-worthy throws for the Colts here. We're going to keep an eye on that. And then the kicking game, right? The Jaguars have Riley Patterson, who they say they feel confident in. They did go get him after roster cuts a few weeks back, and they've liked what they've seen from him. He did miss 1 kick last week, but responded and made the rest of his kicks for the Jaguars. The Colts, they've got 2 players on their practice squad, right? That they got rid of Rodrigo. I can't even think of his name now. Rodrigo Blankenship. Excuse me, y'all. It's early. It's Sunday morning. Rodrigo Blankenship missed a kick for the Colts last week. They got rid of him. Now they have 2 practice squad kickers competing to be the game day kicker for the Colts. If the ball's wet, the field is sloppy, how does that impact not only the kicking game, but the decisions that these coaches are going to have to make? Do you try long field goals? We're going to see how it all plays out. The other big storyline right now is injuries. The Jaguars don't have any. Never seen it before. Been covering this team. This is my 8th season now. I have never seen the Jaguars have 0 injuries. I've never seen another team that they're playing have 0 injuries. It's really, really mind-blowing stuff. Knock on wood for the Jags to keep that healthy streak going here. But when you look at the Colts, no Michael Pittman Jr. He is their best wide receiver, bar none, without question. You've also got no Alec Pierce, who's dealing with a concussion. He is their number 2 outside receiver. You're down your top 2 outside guys if you're the Colts here. Again, Michael Pittman Jr. has a quad. Alec Pierce has a concussion. Does that lead the Colts to run the football more? We're going to find out. No Shaquille Leonard as well on the defensive side of the ball for the Colts. Their star linebacker did practice this week, but they're going to give him one more one more week before they get him back out onto the game field after recovering from that back injury. DeForest Buckner, one of the game's best interior defensive linemen, he is questionable with a hip. Also questionable with a hip injury is Colts nickel cornerback Kenny Moore. Obviously, just at this point, with no Michael Pittman Jr., no Alec Pearson, no Shaquille Leonard, that's going to have a huge impact on this game. If they're down to DeForest Buckner and or Kenny Moore as well, it's going to impact how they are able to function, right? You've got your starting nickel. You've got your best interior defensive lineman. If they don't play, the Colts defense is going to be looking like a completely different unit than what you expect to see. So, wish the best for all those players, speedy recoveries, but it's going to help the Jaguars today not having a Michael Pittman Jr., not having an Alec Pierce, not having a Shaquille Leonard. Can they take advantage? One thing the Jaguars need to focus on not doing is overlooking these Colts. Yes, they're injured. Yes, they're coming off a tie against the Texans, who's viewed as still one of those teams that's probably a lock for the top 5 in the NFL draft. Yes, the Colts have not won in Jacksonville since 2014. Do not overlook this team if you're a Jaguars player. We've got a ton of other storylines. As we just mentioned, Colts have not won in Jacksonville since 2014. You've also got Doug Peterson versus Frank Reich, master and apprentice, right? Frank Reich was the offensive coordinator in Philly when they won the Super Bowl under Doug Peterson as the head coach. They have a really long relationship together. They're good friends. They're going head-to-head today. Offensive play callers. They will not be scheming against each other directly, right? Gus Bradley is going to be calling the defense for the Colts, which is another storyline. Gus Bradley coming back home to Jacksonville. And Mike Caldwell is calling the defense for the Jaguars. You've got Press Taylor versus Indy. He was an offensive assistant for the Colts last year. He's now the Jaguars offensive coordinator. Not the play caller, but still a key role in Trevor Lawrence's development and the design of this offense and the management of this offense. Carson Wentz is no longer an Indianapolis Colt because the Colts could not beat the Jaguars in Week 18 last year to seal a playoff spot. You now have Matt Ryan here. Matt Ryan, very familiar with Jaguars' new middle linebacker, the green dot player, the $15 million man, Foye Oluokun. They used to practice against each other every single day in Atlanta. Now they're going to be going head-to-head. We'll see how that works out. Does Matt Ryan take advantage of his former middle linebacker? Does Foye Oluokun have some tendencies that Matt Ryan's picked up, and vice versa? Does Foye have an advantage knowing the strengths and weaknesses of Matt Ryan? We'll see. Looking at some of the key matchups here, I think the Colts defensive front versus the Jaguars offensive line, specifically in pass protection, is a huge matchup. The Jaguars offensive line in pass pro did not hold up last week. They allowed 20 pressures, 10 quarterback hits. They did not do well enough. Of course, Trevor can get rid of the ball a little bit quicker for you here, but this Jaguars offensive line, specifically from center to left tackle, center Luke Fortner, who's a rookie, Ben Barch going into his third year at left guard, and Cam Robinson, who is getting paid handsomely to protect Trevor Lawrence's blind side, they have got to step up in this one, and they've got plenty of competition across from them, right? You've got potentially DeForest Buckner in the middle. You've got Yannick Ngakoue playing for Gus Bradley once again. He'll be going head-to-head with Cam Robinson. So big time test there for the Jaguars on that side. Looking at the right side, you've got Kwity Paye as well, who's in his second year with the Colts. A really athletic kid out of Michigan, defensive end, pass rusher. He got 2 sacks late in the game last week against the Texans. Jawan Taylor is who he's going to be lined up against, it looks like. And Jawan Taylor, he was perfect last week in pass protection. Did not allow a single pressure. I think this is going to be huge. Colts defensive front versus Jags offensive line in pass protection. I think another critical matchup that I think we will see is Darius Williams versus Nyheim Hines. Nyheim Hines is a running back for the Colts, but he does a lot of his damage through the air as a receiver. Darius Williams struggled in the slot last week to start the game. His first game back after suffering a shoulder injury that he was dealing with all offseason, recovering from all offseason. The Commanders took advantage of Williams a little bit earlier in that game. Can Darius Williams come out and cover the slot, which I think you're going to see Nyheim Hines in quite a bit in this one. He's going to have to get the job done for the Jaguars to find a W in Week 2 in a critical divisional game where winner could be sitting in first place. In the AFC South, you've got the Titans heading to Buffalo to take on the Bills. You got the Texans. They are taking on, I'm looking it up on the fly, the Broncos in Denver. So the winner of this contest has a really good shot at being in first place in the division after Week 2. It's going to be critical. That is going to do it, Duval. I've got the Jaguars winning this one 24-23 in a close one. It will be another win for the Jaguars in Duval. That is my prediction. Jaguars over Colts 24-23. Enjoy the rest of your day, Duval. Try to stay dry out there if you're going out to the game, but bring the energy. Be loud for the home team. They're going to need it. Follow me on Twitter at Jordan DeLugo. You can follow Generation Jaguar at Generation Jag. Please like and subscribe on YouTube if you want to support the channel further. As I mentioned before, go pick up some gear on genjag.com. You can also check out the channel membership. We've got links in the description below. Have a good one.